1 in every 5 women and 1 in every 71 men will be raped at some point in their life. On college campuses alone, 11.2% of all students will experience rape or sexual assault. And out of these statistics, only 20% of female student victims ages 18 to 24 actually make a report, and the percentage is even lower in men. My name is Sydney, and today I'm going to be talking about sexual assault and rape culture on college campuses and how serious of an issue this is. I will be discussing what it actually looks like for people who experience sexual assault and go to report it to universities and law enforcement, the lack of accountability universities hold for students who are specifically in athletic programs and Greek life, and finally, the ineffectiveness of efforts made by universities to combat these issues. Unfortunately, the reality of reporting assaults to college campuses is not as easy as it seems and is often more traumatizing for victims. One of my friends in my sorority was sexually assaulted, and she actually shared her story with us during recruitment. But she said that when she reported it to the university, they did nothing because she was drunk, and it made her story not as credible. Unfortunately, this is the reality for many college students who get sexually assaulted. The process for victims, it forces them to relive what happens to them because the assaults really go unnoticed by universities. In the 2015 documentary, The Hunting Ground, directed by Oscar nominee Kirby Dick, the film brings light to the many realities that victims face when reporting an assault. Victims are fearful, making them not want to report these incidents because the likelihood of them getting justice is not really that high. In a 2017 NSVRC report written by Laura Palumbo, the article states that over 80% of college students do not formally report their victimization to school authorities because too many survivors are silenced by shame, fear of not being believed, and doubt about the process. This causes there not to be any incentive to actually report rape, and victims often experience additional trauma through the reporting process. Although reporting rates are already low, universities and law enforcement don't really take victims that seriously, but it's even worse when athletes and members of Greek life are involved. Universities value athletes and members of Greek life, so they lack holding these students really accountable for when they do commit these crimes. Athletic programs in Greek life do bring a lot of revenue to universities, so they're a lot more hesitant to actually do something about it when they do commit these crimes. Students looking at universities tend to gravitate towards schools that have bigger sports programs and a bigger Greek life. According to a 2018 NCES report, 52% of students pick colleges based on a good social life, and 33% pick colleges with good sports teams and school spirit. Students believe that having these things available to them will give them more of a college experience. Although athletes only make up 4% of the student body at universities, student athletes are responsible for 19% of sexual assaults on college campuses. One example of this can be seen in the case of Jameis Winston, who was a football player at Florida State University and has now moved on to play NFL football. He raped a young girl named Erica Kinsman, and when she decided that she wanted to report the incident, police officers and universities told her to think twice about reporting it. In a 2015 Washington Post article written by Marissa Payne, she quoted the officer, and when he told her, "This is a huge football town, you really should think long and hard if you want to press charges." The police didn't really do anything for months, and when they did visit the case, they dismissed it. Once it went public, she received a lot of death threats and was called a slut, and the harassment got so bad she dropped out of school. Finally, I'd like to talk about the efforts made by universities and law enforcement and how ineffective these plans really are. Changes were made during the Obama administration on laws that tell universities how to handle sexual assault and educating students on consent, but the reality is that most students already know what rape is and what consent is, so this proves to be ineffective. And until universities actually take action, these things are pretty pointless. If there isn't any real action being taken, sexual assault is still going to happen. And how can universities really expect students to take it seriously if they don't really take it seriously themselves? Overall, it's important that we discuss the true reality of these issues. Today I discussed what it looks like for students on college campuses when sexual assault does happen to them, the lack of accountability universities hold for students who are in athletic programs and Greek life, and finally the ineffectiveness of these efforts. Being a woman on a college campus, I always have to keep a lookout for myself and other women around me to make sure that nothing like this happens to anyone else. I've had my own personal experience with this issue, and speaking on behalf of me and many other women, it's frustrating to see so little change and so little support to victims of these crimes, especially on college campuses. It's hypocritical that universities drill into our brains Title IX and sexual assault prevention, but they turn their backs on those who've reported these crimes. The reality is that we can sit through these modules all day long, but until real action is being taken, nothing will progress. We need to do better. It's our job to hold our universities and peers accountable for their actions. I don't want to keep hearing the same stories over and over again with the same ending. 1 in every 5 women will experience sexual assault in their lifetime, but only 3% result in criminal conviction or punishment. The last thing I would want is for any of you to become another one of these statistics, so do better. Thank you.